Okay, welcome back. This is Word Processing Standard 4. We are going to be reviewing, navigating, and editing a document using some of the tools that we find in Word here. So let's open this up. I'm using the Declaration of Independence again. And the first skill we're looking at is editing or navigating our way through the document using Find and Replace. So I can come up to the top corner here. I'm in the Home tab. On the right-hand side in the Editing group, I have Find and Replace. You can get both of these just by clicking on Replace. And you can see I've got the Find, I've got the Replace, I've got a Go To here. What I'm doing is I'm looking for places in the document where it refers to the king. Now this was basically the divorce decree. The colonists said, we've had enough with you, we want to be off on our own. And here's the list of complaints the king has done. So he has refused, he has forbidden, he has refused, he has dissolved, a lot of different things. Let's change this. I'm going to change all the instances of he, and instead of he, I'm going to replace it with that jerk, just to see how the colonists really felt about him. Now, this is going to be wrong, but let me just show you here. I'm going to replace all of these instances, and it's going to go through, and it says we found 4 till the end of the document. And here's 153. I don't think there was 153. What I'll find out is, when I look more closely at the document, everywhere the words HE was put, instead of the, it is that jerk, that jerk. I have a small problem there. I can Control Z to undo all this. Maybe. There we go. Control Z undid all of that for me. Let's go back to Replace. And I'm going to use the Advanced feature here. I need to go to More, and I want to match the case. So I want to make sure that it's a capitalized version of he. And I also want to make sure that I'm using the space after it. Now, when I do this, it's going to find just those instances of he that is capitalized and has a space after it. And so I'm going to replace that and its space with that jerk and a space. Now, when I replace all, it goes through my document. It starts near the bottom. It starts near the top. And there's 18 replacements. That's a lot more reasonable. And when I click here, I've got 18 replacements made. I can close this. Now I have that jerk has refused to assent. That jerk has forbidden his governors. That jerk. So you can see it's changed it. And you've just got to be careful with that, making sure that you match the case of it, because it only looks for exactly what you tell it to. And I've undone all of those Find and Replace there. Let's go back. We're going to be using the Spellcheck to go through our document. Now, probably the easiest way to get to your Spellcheck is just as you're in the document, we have these red squiggly lines. Try not to ignore those. I see this a lot of time with students. It's offering you help right there, and it's easy to overlook things. It's kind of like a banner ad on the side of a web page. Easy to overlook. So train yourself to look at these. Now this is saying the word endeavored is not spelled correctly. I can right click, and here is the more modern spelling of it. Since we're looking at a historical document, we may or may not want to change this. I'm going to leave it so we still have that way they spoke. I'm going to harass. There's an extra R in there. So I can work through my document. Neighboring, we've dropped the U here. It's a very British spelling anymore. So you can see I have these here. I could choose to ignore them. If I wanted to, I could ignore all instances of endeavored, and it's not going to show up as the red mark anymore. If you're doing that with the document, that's probably a good thing. If you know that there are words that the dictionary doesn't recognize or that are old spellings, then that way you don't ignore each of these instances of the red line and miss an actual spelling error. I'm also going to be looking at the Review tab. In my Review tab, I have some options here for spelling and grammar and a thesaurus and some other things. So I'm going to go into my spelling and grammar, and it's going to pull up my editor on the right-hand side here. So the first thing it's looking at is the word effect. And you can see the word effect in the document had a double underline in blue. It's giving me some different options here. Did I mean to say affect? Well, affect means to touch, assume, or influence. Again, I'm going to probably leave this alone because this is the way it was written as a historical document. But in my own writing, if I have something that shows up, for instance, meantime, I can click on it. Meantime, do I need to make that as one word? In your own writing, use the spelling and grammar to help you. It's an easy way to keep up those points on the papers that you're turning into your teachers, because if they know that you had a spell check, and everybody does, and you're misspelling something, they're going to mark that because you just completely ignored that red mark. Next, we're going to be looking at the thesaurus. Maybe I need to find a different word than laws. Maybe I've used that too much in my document and I want to come up with something different. I have a couple of ways I can get there. The first is through the review tab. I can just click on the review tab, go to the proofing group and click on thesaurus, and the word that is highlighted is what's going to come up here. So here are some different suggestions for me of words and what they could be. I can pull this down and I can look at different by clicking on those. So I can get pretty deeply into it, and rather quickly I could actually get away from the definition of what the word really means. So be careful. Just because it's a synonym or it's in the thesaurus doesn't mean that it means exactly the same thing. The other option I have is to right click, and when I right click, here are my synonyms. So rules, commandments, regulations, decrees. Or I could just left click here and go straight into the thesaurus, and then here is my other list that I have that we saw previously, and it pulled up my side menu. Okay, next we're going to be putting bookmarks into our document. In a short document, it's not that big a deal, but if you have a multi-page paper, you've written something big for your college classes, you may want to put bookmarks in so you can find your way around the document. I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to come down here. I've already put a couple in, but I'm going to insert one more here. In the links, I'm going to put a bookmark. And right here at the very end, this is what the resolution is as far as the colonists are concerned. So I'm going to insert a bookmark right here. And you can see I've already put in the background and the complaints. I'm going to add resolution. What is it that the colonists want to do? And I can't type. That's okay. Got my cords in the way here. So this is the resolution. I'm going to add this right here. Now, I have 3 bookmarks in this document. The way I can find those is if I go back to home and I can go to find, and I want to go to a place in the document. So I'm jumping around, and I can go to pages and sections and lines. Here's my bookmarks. I have 3 different bookmarks that I've put in here. I have the background, I have the complaints, and I have the resolution. So if I click on the background and I go to, it takes me up to, this is the background. We hold these truths to be self-evident. If I go back to find, and my advanced find, excuse me, I wanted to go back to find, and I want to go to, I want to go to the complaints. This is where we talked about that jerk, only I've changed them back. So he has refused his assent. So this is all the complaints. That's how we would use bookmarks in a document, and then how we, more importantly, find them later. Okay, the next tool we're going to look at is the format painter. So let's say we wanted to highlight something here. I've taken one sentence that may have been really bad, and the colonists really hated this. So they actually did it in bold, they italicized it, they underlined it, they made it in red. And let's say that they wanted to duplicate that. Rather than having to grab this section of text and then bold, italicize, underline it, make it red, I can use what's called the format painter. And this is in my home tab right here in the clipboard group. I can just select this section, and if I like the way that it looks and I want to copy that format, I'm going to click it one time just to pick up this style. And now when I go into my document, you can see I've got that little paintbrush there. So maybe they think that it's really heinous that they were quartering troops in the country. And when I've just drawn over that, it's taken the same formatting that I've had. It'll save you a little bit of time. It might be quicker just to do the bold, italicized, underline, and red. But if you had multiple that you wanted to do, I could again click the format painter. Here's my format painter. Come back here, and I can do these on a couple of these without having to do the whole thing at once. And we are done with Standard 4.